Okay guys, I want to make a video explaining the questions on the homework, and after doing number 7 right now, I realize that a lot of people are going to be confused, and in the certain situation that we're in, it's probably better to just skip it. We end up with fractions, and I don't want to confuse you guys with that, so let's not do number 7. Let's jump right into number 10. So how do we do number 10? Well, you solve it. How do you get rid of fractions? Multiply everything by the denominator of the fraction that you want to get rid of. So in this case, if you want to get rid of the 3 over a, multiply by a, multiply by a, multiply by a. So you will end up with 5a minus the a's cancel, so you'll have a minus 3 left over. Then you have the inequality less than, and then the a's cancel, you have a 7 left over. So you have the inequality less than, and then a 7 left over. Now if you solve this, plus 3, you'll end up with 5a is less than 10. Divide both sides by 5, and you'll get a is less than 2, and that's an answer so far. You could have pretended that this one was man, I can't even speak right now. You could have pretended that it was an equal sign and just said a equals 2, because you're going to go to your number line and plot that value of 2 anyway. So here's our number line. Put the value of 2 somewhere on there. But before putting the value of 2 on there, let's go back and do steps 2. And then step 3 is plotting on a number line. Step 2 is to go to your denominators and set them equal to 0 and solve. So if you did go to the a right here and set it equal to 0 and solved, that's an actual answer, a equals 0. So we're going to plot the two values, 2 and 0. Of course, I don't have to do it to this one because it's the same thing, a equals 0. It's going to give you the same answer, a equals 0. So you have a 0 here and a 2 there. Now step 3 says to plot your points and test areas. So testing an area, like if you want to test this area that's to the left of 0, you'd have to plug in a number that's over here on the left side of 0, which is any negative number you want. So if you wanted to, plug in a negative 1. So let's test the value negative 1, which is clearly on the left side of 0. When you try a negative 1, 3 over negative 1 is negative 3, but with the minus sign in front, it'll be a negative 3, which means plus 3. So you really have 5 plus 3, which is 8. And then is 8 less than 7 divided by negative 1? That'd be negative 7. Is 8 less than negative 7? Absolutely not. So that definitely did not work. So let's pick another point now, a point that's in this area between the 0 and the 2. Let's pick a value like 1, which is clearly in between 0 and 2. When you plug in a 1 right here, that'll be 3 divided by 1, that's 3. So you really have a minus 3, so you have 5, take away 3, that's 2, is less than 7 over 1 is 7. Is 2 less than 7? Yes, it works. So this guy is a yes, it does work. Let's see if this area over here works. Any number bigger than 2, like let's say 3. Let's test the number 3. Okay, if you plug in a 3 right here, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 5 take away 1 is 4. Is 4 less than 7 over 3? If you plug in a 3 right here. 4 is definitely not less than 7/3. 4 is bigger than 7 divided by 3, which is only 2 and 1/3. So 4 is definitely bigger than any 2 and 1/3 value. So over here it did not work. Okay, so let's put an X right there. So where did it work? It worked between 0 and between 2 in this area, which is a compound inequality. And how do you write your compound inequality? Well, you put your smaller value 0 on the left side, the bigger value 2 on the right side. You put your variable, in this case a, in the middle, and both of them with the less than symbol. So there's your compound inequality, which is your answer to number 10. Okay. So number 11 is done pretty much the same exact way, so I will let you handle that one. Number 12, it ends up being slightly different. Same thing with 13. So let's do 13. Why not? Let's do 13. It looks like the harder one of all. So let's begin by solving this thing by multiplying. You could get rid of one fraction at a time, or you could get rid of all fractions at the same time by multiplying by that LCD. So if you want to get rid of all of them at the same time, think about what's the LCD of P, 3P, and 5. That would be 15P. So we put a 15P right there. a 15p right there, a 15p right there. And if you don't like multiplying everything by the LCD, go ahead and get rid of one of the fractions at a time. Multiply only by p, it'll cancel. Or multiply only by 5 and it'll cancel. You could get rid of one fraction at a time. I'm getting rid of all fractions by multiplying everything by the LCD, which is 15p. So the p up here cancels with the p down here, and 15 times 4 is 60, and there's no longer a fraction. The 3 down here cancels with the 15 up here, and you'll have a 5 left. And then the p cancels with that p, so there's no p's, so you really have a 5 times 1, which is just 5. And over here on this side of the inequality, you have the 15 divided by 5, which is 3 up on top. And that's about it. You'll have a 1 times 3p, which is 3p. Again, the 15 cancels with the 5. Anyhow, there's our inequality, which is 65 is less than 3p, which means that p is greater than 65 divided by 3. P is greater than 65 divided by 3. So this is one possible answer, and we need to now go back and set our denominator equal to 0. So 3p, if it equals 0, divide both sides by 3, you'll still get p equals 0. So we have our two possible answers here, 65 over 3 and 0. Let's now go to a number line, and let's test the values. So we have 0 here, and we have 65 over 3 over here, which is roughly, I think if you do it on a calculator, it's like, let me check, 21.67 or 21.7. Anyways, this is roughly 21.7. All right, so we have to test our areas now. You want to test the left side of 0. You want to test the values between 0 and 21.7. And you want to test the values that are greater than 21.7. So if you pick any number, like let's say we picked a -1. All right, let's test the number -1 and see if it works. So let's go back to the original. Plug in a -1 right here. 4 divided by -1, that is -4. Let me just write this down right here on the side, -4. And then we have plus, here's our plus, 1 over 3 times -1. That'll be 1 over -3. That'll be -1/3. So you really have -4 plus -1/3. And we need to check and make sure that it's less than +1/5. Is that a true statement? Absolutely yes, because negative numbers added together are still negative, and it's definitely less than any positive number. So this guy over here is an answer from here this way. So I know for a fact that my p-value has to be less than 0. That's one answer right there so far. Let's test the values that are between 0 and 21.7. It might be a compound inequality in here. So if I test, let's say the number 1, which is clearly between 0 and 21.7, what would we get? Let's do this in our heads. We have 4 over 1, which is 4. We have 1 over 3 times 1, which is 1/3. You have 4 plus 1/3, that's 4 and 1/3. And is 4 and 1/3 less than 1/5? Heck no, 4 and 1/3 is bigger than 1/5. So we know that if you were to test the number 1, it would not work. So the answers are definitely not in between 0 and 21.7. And now if we test any value over here, let's see if it works. Let's test, I don't know, let's plug in 100. Yeah, this thing's way over here, 100. Let's test 100. So when I plug in 100 right here, it's going to read 4 over 100 plus, and let's plug in 100 right here. It's going to be 1 over 3 times 100. So that's going to be 1 over 300 is less than 1/5. Now, I already know that this is going to be a true statement. Like, if we wanted to, let's get a common denominator here. Let's change the 4 over 100. Let's make that a 300 instead of a 100 by multiplying by 3 to get 12 over 300 plus 1 over 300. That gives you 13 over 300. And is that really less than 1/5? Well, if you go to a calculator, like I am doing right now on my cell phone, I am going to do 13 divided by 300, get equals 0.043. 0.04, and that's definitely smaller than 1 divided by 5, which gives you a 0.2. So this is true. So this point right here, yes, it works. So what does this mean? That all of these over here work. So this is not an area that's together. The areas in between didn't work. So it works this way and it works that way. So we need to keep these inequalities but written apart with the word or between them. Okay? So we said this answer over here is P is less than 0. Let me rewrite it. P is less than 0. And you use the word or. P is greater than 65 over 3. There's your total answer. P is less than 0 or P is greater than 65 over 3. I hope this makes sense. Again, we're skipping number 7. Don't worry about it. All you got to worry about is 10 or 11 and 12. I already did the other ones. Just do 11 and 12.